for taking the time, Tim. Excited to be here. And I want to thank everybody for taking some time in the middle of the day to learn about something that's a little different than your typical technology. When you think about, whoop, here we go. When you think about chemistry, the first thing you think about is all these nasty chemicals. And one of the things we quickly realize with new chemistry is chemistry supports our way of life. Without chemicals, we couldn't support 8 billion people on the planet. Chemicals are in the food we eat, the medicine we take, the crops we grow, the cars we drive, and the homes we live in. So the problem with chemicals is there's side effects. And if you start thinking about all the reasons we use chemicals, you think about our food supply, and it's a big issue today, global food security. Well, there's tremendous amount of hazardous chemicals typically used in the food supply. It's used in industry. You have things like sulfuric acid spills that can shut down a town. So you need chemicals, but at the same time, you need a way to alleviate some of these side effects. So imagine if you could, for instance, increase food supply without using harmful pesticides. Imagine if you could kill the COVID virus without using harmful disinfectants, or manufacture personal care products without toxic preservatives. Well, now you can. We've discovered new sustainable low toxicity acid and low toxicity base. So we basically have discovered and created two new chemistries. One's an acid, one's a base. They literally have thousands of applications in vertical markets from agriculture to biotech to cleaning. And in fact, we were recently granted patents on both this acid and the base. And sometimes things like that sound a little too good to be true. And because we now have patents in place, we built a brand new factory, and we recently signed some seven-figure licensing deals. We've actually been able to validate the technology and take it to market. So what is Tygrus? We're a technology manufacturer and licensing company. Our business model is really simple. All we're looking to do is find strategic partners that we could then leverage their infrastructure and provide them a chemistry or an acid or base that would replace their hazardous chemical. So a great example of that is one of our licensing partners is one of the leading food cleaning companies in the food industry. They clean plants like Conagra and Tyson Foods. And typically you would use an acid called peracetic acid, which is prevalent in the industry, does a great job killing bacteria and viruses, but certainly has some downside. And when one of the owners of AFCO saw the possibilities of replacing peracetic acid with our product, they quickly signed a licensing contract with us. And the way our license works is the beauty of the product is it only takes a few drops to create a formulated disinfectant. So imagine you only have to use one drop of our product, 98% water, there's a couple other ingredients, and now you've formulated a disinfectant that can do everything from kill bacteria, kill viruses. And in fact, we had it tested against the COVID virus, and we were extremely effective against COVID. We tested that through Dr. Anthony Attal at Wake Forest, who's one of the top regenerative medicine scientists in the world at the Wake Forest Institute of Regenerative Medicine. And we successfully killed COVID in less than a minute for things like disinfecting and hand sanitizing. And we killed it at a 5-log reduction. So what's the business model and how do you make money with these chemistries? Well, first of all, to build a factory, which we've already completed and is up and running, we can build a factory anywhere in the world for under $2 million. What that factory generates is gross profit margins of over 80% and EBITDAs of 40 to 60%. So imagine for $2 million, you can be in business generating those types of margins and that type of cash flow. You know, typically those margins and cash flow are associated with biotech and pharma companies that would cost $1 billion to get a drug to market. And then the other beauty of this technology is a platform chemistry. So there are literally hundreds of applications in agriculture, cleaning, and biotech that allow you basically a lot of bites at the apple with the same technology. Of course, in order to get credibility, you have to have the top doctors and scientists in the world. And we are a mission-driven company, and we're looking to impact the world in a positive way. Just on the food side alone in agriculture, we look to grow more crops and provide more food. So one of the things we've done is we've attracted some of the top doctors and scientists in the world. The Honorable Dr. Stephen L. Johnson was the former head of the EPA under George Bush. He was a cabinet member. He's a friend and been an advisor to the company since inception and guides us in all of our regulatory issues and also for business, from an overall business standpoint. I already talked about Dr. Anthony Atala. He's the director and founder of the Wake Forest Institute for Regenerative Medicine. And Dr. Atala is working on multiple biotech type applications, which we'll talk about. Robert Gallion is an advisor to the company. He built the largest battery company in the world, CATL. He's working with us with some of the top universities, including Kentucky, Indiana, and Ball State and Purdue, doing additional R&D. Dr. Greg Voss started the Voss Institute, University of Chicago. He is the leading thought. He's the leading scientist when it comes to this type of new chemistry. And Dr. Boris Manahoff, who's a scientist and one of the leaders in battery technology and has led our battery team as we've developed this technology as a potential replacement for sulfuric acid in manufacturing paste for acid-lead batteries. Once again, we were very, very fortunate, and through Dr. Atala's relationships, we were able to get our product tested through the CDC at a level 3 lab in Manassas, Virginia, that ended up getting those significant results on killing COVID. And we are now working throughout the world looking to get licensing contracts in addition to the first 2 we signed. And we're negotiating with companies and strategic partners on every continent. One of the big applications for the product is obviously hard surface cleaning and disinfecting and hand sanitizing. This category is driven right now by COVID. You've seen huge increased use of these products worldwide. So we're looking to use COVID almost as the platform to talk about our sustainable application. So we have a sustainable replacement for typical disinfectants that would be used in killing various viruses and bacteria. And like I had said earlier, this past year, we did $3.5 million in revenue. $3 million of that was through licenses with companies that are leading companies in food and industrial cleaning. We also signed a license with a market leader in Australia and New Zealand. So we have licensing in place in the EU, North America, Australia, New Zealand, and also talking to many other markets. One of the more interesting applications is in agriculture. Our acid can be added at very low dilution rates to irrigation systems when growing crops, including cannabis. And we've done a tremendous amount of work in those areas. In fact, this past year, we tested on 42 field trials in 6 states on 13 different crops. And just in soybeans alone, we've seen averages in the 10 to 15% yield range by increasing crop yield just by adding a very small percentage of our acid to the irrigation systems. So we've seen lettuce, potatoes, soybeans, sugar beets, tomatoes, sunflowers, cannabis, all with increased yield being done in a very sustainable way. And nothing better than a few pictures. This was lettuce grown hydroponically. Obviously on the left, that was done typically how they would grow lettuce. They changed nothing in their grow cycle and in their process. The only thing they did to capture the yield increase on the right was add our acid called Growthful. And here's another example of 2 other lettuces. And you can see even in the roots, you can see tremendous increases in root growth. So as we look in 2021, what we're really looking at is significant revenue opportunities in agriculture, in industrial cleaning and disinfecting. And then we also have 3 other subsidiaries that are in R&D but are moving along very quickly. One we already talked about was the battery subsidiary. That, due to COVID, was pretty much shut down this past year, and we moved resources because the large lead battery companies kind of shut down a lot of their R&D for new innovative opportunities. The personal care side, We have the ability to take purified water that would typically be used in creating skincare products and cosmetics, treat that water, put in the ingredients, and then not need the potential uh, preservatives that would typically be used to extend shelf life to 3 years. So we are in the process now of working with some leading personal care companies. They have now gotten through the R&D process, and we're in the process of hopefully setting up some revenue opportunities for the second half of next year. And then one of the more exciting opportunities with Dr. Atala is we've explored 3 different applications in biotech. One is in medical device sterilization, where we have a much less corrosive product that allows you then to sterilize various medical devices, including catheters, and help mitigate the potential spread of infections in hospitals. A second is this chemistry is very good on the wound care side and healing. We've done a lot of testing, and we're in the process of filing a 510K, which will allow us to launch a antimicrobial wound and skincare wash. And then third, we're in the process of starting clinical trials offshore on using our chemistry as a therapeutic for killing COVID in the lungs. So you would inhale it in a nebulizer and potentially have the possibilities of treating COVID patients once they begin developing symptoms, both pre-hospital and once they're in the hospital. And that's in process as we speak. So when you think about Tygrus, we have 2 main focuses of commercialization right now, one in the cleaning side, one in the ag tech side. We have 3 areas of development: biotech, personal care, and in battery, with a focus on biotech as we speak. If you look at the historical capital formation, we've raised about $12 million in 12 million to date. We recently converted all of our debt to equity at 477 a share. So if you look at our cap table, we brought our first 3 million in at about $1.28. Our next 3 million came in at $1.82. Our next 2.5 million came in at 378, and the most recent conversion in equity coming into the company is at 476. Out of that $3 million round, $1 million has already converted from debt into that round. We have about $1 million that is either funded or in the process of funding, and there's about 900,000 left in this round. Once this round is complete, we will then turn around and do a $5 to $10 million round, obviously at a much higher valuation, and we'll wait until we have the clinical trial results, which should occur in the next 60 to 90 days. If you look at shares outstanding right now, there's about a little less than 20 million shares outstanding. That makes your valuation fully diluted about $100 million. We have about 2 million warrants. Our use of proceeds moving forward primarily is in the IP regulatory and testing. We'll continue to do additional testing to get more data. We'll continue to apply for regulatory approvals in agriculture, cleaning, and biotech. And then, of course, there is no better investment than investing in your IP portfolio. Currently, we have IP granted for our acid and base. We have about 5 or 6 additional patents either granted or we've gotten notice of allowance, which means it'll be granted. And then we have literally dozens and dozens of patents for the various uses that are in process. So why invest in Tygrus? Well, first, we've discovered new chemistry that is an acid and a base that has literally thousands of applications. We have immediate international market opportunities that we're currently working on, some of which we've already closed. As we like to say, we've just begun saving the world by adding our product to crops to grow more food, by reducing the amount of hazardous chemicals that are used in our everyday life. We built a great patent portfolio. We have independent testing from some of the top labs in the country validating our technology. Whoop, that was we need a little, just give me a second, I apologize. And I should know the last 6, shouldn't I? We have the perfect ingredients for business success. So our business model is a low CapEx, high gross profit margins with many vertical markets. We have a brand new production facility ready to go. We can build another facility anywhere in the world for under $2 million. Ongoing commercialization in multiple markets. a world-class team of advisors, consultants, and people that work for the company. And we have a core team of dedicated professionals. Our management team is second to none. Two of our chief technical officer and our chief scientists have over 200 patents worldwide between them. So with that being said, I'll open it up for questions. And I apologize for the PowerPoint, playing games a little bit.
Thank you, John. If you could stop sharing.
I'm going to do that right now. Hold on a second. And that was my quick version.
Appreciate that, John. Thank you very much. There are a lot of questions. So again, I remind you, if you have questions, type them into the Q&A at the bottom of your screen. There are a lot of questions. I'm going to get to one of our first questions here. It is regarding your IP and your patents. Are your patents pending? Are they patented? Utility patent? Tell us about your patents.
So the two core patents, the acid and the base, are both granted and issued 14 months ago. And so the core technology is patented and granted. The utility patents, we have 4 or 5 for various applications that have either been granted or we have received notice of allowance, which means they're soon to be granted. And then we have dozens of patents that are in various processes, either pending or in the process of being filed, and all the way up and down the spectrum.
Excellent. Thank you, John. Another question here from Gaetano. Who is your ultimate targeted client? So who's your target customer, really? What's your ultimate target customer?
So our business model is really simple. We're not looking to build big infrastructure and build $100 million of overhead a year. We are looking to target leading companies in each of these industries. So leading agricultural companies, cleaning companies, disinfecting companies, pharmaceutical companies. And our goal is always to make their products better. Our company mantra is better everything. So we feel by using our chemistry, we can replace ingredients that have hazardous characteristics or maybe don't work quite as well with a product that will work better and make for a better finished product. So to give you an example, if we went to say Estee Lauder, we could say to them, look, you have your Clinique line. We could help you relaunch a Clinique line with no preservatives. So we're not looking to bring products to market necessarily, although there may be times where we would consider that. In general, we're looking for leading brands and manufacturers to make their product better.
Excellent. I know there are a lot of questions. Gaetano specifically had a lot of questions. I would encourage you, if you have a lot of questions and you want to speak one-on-one, to attend the networking meeting following this. We're going to provide the link in the chat. You'll be able to join the networking meeting or contact, all the contact information will be available on our website in the following week. You can always contact directly as well if you have a lot of questions. I want to give an opportunity for others to ask some questions as well. I have a question from Erica Feinberg. The question is, does it work with electrostatic sprayers or qualify as a sanitizer? And then also on a secondary to that, how would you compare in pricing to a HOCI?
So from a pricing standpoint, we are very competitive. Our goal is to always be at market or below and still provide that additional value proposition, being a more sustainable alternative. When you look at our testing, our product shows that it has efficacy against most viruses and bacteria. In order to make kill claims, you need to be registered with the EPA. As I said earlier, Dr. Stephen L. Johnson is our consultant, advisor, and friend who is helping us through that process. So we're working to get our product listed as an active disinfectant so that we can make kill claims in the US. We're also working on similar regulatory approvals worldwide. In fact, we just got approved in one of the countries in Asia, but we're working in South America, Europe, Africa, Asia, etc.
Excellent. Thank you, John. So question from Steve Bressel. Is your product effective on mold?
Yeah, it's very effective on mold. In fact, that's one of the targets that one of our strategic partners who we signed a licensing deal with is working on to bring into Home Depot.
As a question to your business model, thanks for that answer, John. Question to your business model for licensing of your product. Can you walk us through what's a typical licensing charge for your
Sure.
product?
So typically, if it's I'll give you an example. We signed a non-exclusive license for industrial cleaning for North America and Europe. And that license, I won't give the exact amount, but it was well above 7 figures. And then we get a 10% royalty on any finished product. So typically our license, because you use so little of the product, is a cost up front and then an ongoing royalty against wholesale costs. So I'll give you an example. The cleaning company sells a $20 gallon to Tyson Foods to clean one of the lines. We would make $2 a gallon on that wholesale price. So it's typically some money up front, a royalty ongoing with some minimum requirements in order to keep the license. If it's exclusive, then the cost may be higher.
Excellent. I think some of the other questions here might have been just related to the overall presentation. I know it seems like talked a lot about cleaning, but you did mention all the other industry uses. So maybe just can you quickly remind our audience what other industry uses that you have for commercialization?
One of our challenges, it's kind of the yin and the yang of our technology. We have so many applications that you literally got to really focus in and hone on where the opportunities are short term while having a long-term plan in the R&D side. So short term, we have already begun commercializing in the agricultural space. We did about 350,000 in revenue this past year. We anticipate doing at least a few $1,000,000 this year, both domestically and internationally. So agriculture for both crop yield. And then one of the things I didn't mention is we also have a preservative element to our product. So we literally can extend shelf life of fruit and vegetables with a post-harvest wash. And we think that's a big opportunity. And then one additional application that I did not speak of is we've done some work with one of the leading potato growers in the country who sells fresh cut potatoes to be used in French fries. They typically have about a 20-day shelf life, cryovac and gas flushed. We were able to increase their shelf life by 40 days. And that product now has been approved by US Foods to be delivered through 63 distribution centers. The beauty of that is the French fries taste better, they last longer, and most importantly, by going from frozen to refrigerated distribution, you're lowering your carbon footprint. So you're saving money and doing you're also impacting the environment, and certainly it ties right into our sustainability message.
Amazing, John. So certainly a lot of uses for your product. Thank you very much for giving us this presentation today. Again,